We in Utah enjoy great quality of life, and many of us are here because it's a great place to raise a family. We've got a solid economy, some of the most beautiful landscapes in the world. But the reality is that air pollution can threaten those things that we care about the most. It discourages business expansion, which allows us to support our families. Those days when it's obscure, we can't see those great views. And we all worry about our health. We worry about the health of those that we love the most. So we need to continue to address air quality. We've made great strides as a state. Programs in the past have allowed us to continue to grow and improve air quality over time.
Well, public health is concerned about air quality because of the health conditions that can be caused or exacerbated by poor air quality, such as asthma attacks being triggered by poor air quality, or other long-term health effects, including chronic bronchitis that can be actually caused by air pollution.
Air quality is important to me as both a mother and a pediatrician because the lungs really are children's lifeline. Whereas in adults, heart disease and sudden cardiac death are the major killers. In children, when children are really sick, it's because their lungs aren't healthy. When I pick up a parenting magazine, it tells me all the complexities of which car seat to have my child in, the immunization schedule. There's some very complex things that we're trying to get parents to understand in how to protect their children's health. And I think air pollution is equally important. We know that asthma is our most common chronic disease of childhood. It's also the #1 reason for missed school days, for emergency department visits, hospitalizations. 1 in 12 children in the United States has asthma.
Air quality is something that impacts each one of us every day. Whether it's our decision to recreate, whether it makes a determination about our health on that certain day, whether it determines whether our kids can play outside during recess or not. It can even impact our mood. Air quality is critical. We can see it so easily in this valley most days when there is poor air quality. So it's in the forefront of everyone's mind. We need to individually and then collectively take steps to try and improve our air quality.
Air quality is important to me because I believe it's an economic development issue. As we look for growth opportunities in our state, and there are many, Utah is blessed with some remarkable resources, with people, with a place to live, a great quality of life. We need to figure out a way to balance the growth opportunities with preserving our state and our place and keeping it a great place to work and live, and at the same time having great economic opportunity. Different industries are sensitive to air quality in different ways. For example, outdoor products companies are very sensitive to this question because it conveys an image about the place that they've chosen to locate, not only about their own industry, but about where they are going to be. It's also a difficult question for them as far as they're relocating employees from different parts of the world to come to our state, and if this is a concern, then it makes it harder to relocate people as well. Another industry that are very sensitive to that is life science companies, and these are people doing medical research with pharmaceuticals and biotechnology and medical devices. It's also a sensitive question for them as well in our experience.
Well, PM2.5 is really just a name given to particulate matter that's smaller than 2.5 microns in diameter. For reference, a human hair is about maybe 100 microns in diameter, so we're talking about particles that are a 40th of the diameter of a human hair. And these are the particles that health scientists have determined are most harmful to human health. Utah's mountain valleys suffer from temperature inversions during the winter time. And when one of these inversions is in place, emissions, air pollutants build up underneath. It tends to cap the valley. And this can last for days or sometimes even weeks at a time. And in some cases, air pollutant gases will react during these inversion periods and form this particulate, this PM2.5 we're talking about, and that can build up until a storm system comes through that actually can wash the valley out and clear things out.
In 2006, the federal government changed the requirements for air pollution, which resulted in the air pollution requirements becoming more stringent. They went from a level at 65 micrograms per cubic meter and went all the way down to a level of 35 micrograms per cubic meter. Now when we talk about micrograms per cubic meter, we're just talking about the concentration of pollutants in the air. But the result of this was that we had several areas of the state which violated this change to the standard. Under the Federal Clean Air Act that was established by Congress, there was a provision in there that when areas don't meet the national ambient air quality standards, a state is required to develop a plan to meet those standards. And that is known as a State Implementation Plan, or SIP. Now the SIP is a planning process, and what it does is requires us to identify the pollutants that are responsible for exceeding this national air quality standard, then also identify what controls we can put in place to bring the area back into compliance with the standard. In 2009, EPA designated 3 non-attainment areas here along the Wasatch Front and in Cache Valley. The first non-attainment area is called the Provo-Orem non-attainment area, which includes the valley portion of Utah County. The second non-attainment area is the Salt Lake, Clearfield, Ogden non-attainment area, which includes all of Salt Lake County, all of Davis County, the eastern portion of Tooele County, the western portion of Weber County, and a southeastern portion of Box Elder County. And the third non-attainment area is the Logan non-attainment area, which includes the valley portion of Cache County in Utah, and also a portion of Franklin County in Idaho.
Well, the PM 2.5 problem is really a chemistry problem. When we analyze our air quality filters for PM 2.5, only about 25 or 30% of the mass on the filters is emitted as particulate from the sources. The rest, the other 70 to 75%, is formed in the atmosphere. It's what we call secondary pollutants. It's formed from gases that react during these temperature inversions during the wintertime. And the inversion acts as an ideal kind of container to hold these precursor gases together and allow them to react under cold temperatures, stagnant conditions, and high humidity. Well, we use emissions inventories to understand where pollution comes from. For PM 2.5, for example, we would develop a typical winter day emissions inventory. We get that information from sort of the best available sources.
Well, my name is Christopher Pinnell. I am the emissions modeler here at the AQ. And my job is to essentially take a lot of our inventory pollutions from area, mobile, and point sources and put them in the computer so that we can figure out, how to realistically model these things. This is important work simply because our modeling is only as correct as the inputs we give it. For example, if our assumptions are wrong or whatever, we may be overestimating and underestimating things when it comes time to actually evaluate the standard or how we stand compared to the ambient air quality standard. So in this sense, it's very important to be meticulous and careful, and also make sure that we do the best work we can.
Just as air pollution impacts all of us, the solutions need to come from all of us as well. We look at focusing on transportation, mobile sources, people driving less, driving smarter. Also, we've asked industry to optimize their operations as well, and in particular, requiring emissions controls on facilities that weren't controlled before. Some of the new controls that are a part of this implementation plan are controls on area sources. The area source sector really describes all of the urban activities that are just a part of where we live and how we live. This is everything from home heating to business heating, commercial operations, things like restaurants and wood furniture manufacturing, auto body refinishing. And really one of the key successes of this plan is it does address all of those pollutants in those areas. Then the third sector is the transportation sector. Cars are getting cleaner, and we have relied on that fact for a good portion of our plan, but we've also required additional controls. So as we do our future planning for transportation, we need to keep in mind this new budget for emissions, that then those new plans need to be designed to meet that budget.
So the role that the public played in the development of the PM 2.5 SIP is pretty important. We selected people from a variety of different backgrounds so that they could each bring their own unique perspective and experience to play in trying to identify solutions for the PM 2.5 air quality challenge in Utah. So I think the value that the diversity of participation in the work group comes from the fact that we have community reflected at these tables. We have people who work with agriculture, we have people coming from the transportation sector, people from academia and health, and they all come together to participate in these work groups. And the reason this is going to be successful as a result of their participation is because of the experience they bring.
I think that most of the regular people are engaged and do care about this. and they have just to get more notice and be urged by someone to go and do it. No pain, no gain. You've got to go to the meetings and you've got to pay attention and you've got to speak your mind. This has been a very fair process. The only problem that I have with it is that DAQ seems to think that the cars cause all the problems, and I tend to think that the industry causes all the pollution. But I think the fact has been proved to me that we all cause all the pollution and that that's the problem. And everybody has to do something.
I think our biggest challenge is the fact that we're in a bowl. We're surrounded by mountains on all sides, and so when we get cold air and high pressure above that, we get an inversion, and it's just nothing moves, and so it traps everything in the valley. Well, we're a fairly large county. We have 112,000 in Cache County, but we have also Franklin County as part of that valley. And so we have a lot of automobiles and mobile sources. Automobiles is a major part of that. So it's really important that we make that part of the solution.
The State of Utah Division of Air Quality has just completed the development of the state implementation plan for PM 2.5. This plan, when it's acted upon by the Utah Air Quality Board, is then submitted to EPA in order to meet the requirements of the Federal Clean Air Act.
If we can improve air quality in Utah, I think it sends a tremendous message to not only the businesses that are here already, but to those that are considering coming to the state. I think it's also important to note that our problem with air quality in Utah is different than in other cities in the United States. That in our case, we've got deficient air on a dozen days out of the year, for example, versus other communities that have to deal with it every single day. So that's not to take away from the fact that we've got to solve this problem, but it also represents a very different and perhaps even more challenging than it is in some other communities.
Utah is known for people that step up and help each other in challenges. We've got an ongoing challenge ahead with air pollution. We've got good plans in place, but as all of us come together, we're going to make a difference and protect what we care about most in this state.
We all know that we make negative impacts on the air quality pretty much every day just by getting around. If we get in a vehicle, if we fire up our stove, we're going to make an impact. But I think there's a lot of positive ways that people can make a difference. And just realizing that they can be empowered to make that difference. So everything from trip chaining, group your errands together, to not getting in your car if you can walk your kids down to the school. It's good for all of us to have that exercise. Utilizing mass transit when we have that opportunity, and really engaging both our thought leaders, our political leaders, our friends, our neighbors, and getting them to lower their impact on our air quality.